And tonight on the Daily Wrap, we're getting our first look at the polls since the CNBC debate. And guess who's on top? Hint, think of the movie The Outsiders. Also, who's really in control of the upcoming presidential debates? The Republican Party or the campaigns themselves? And wait till you hear how much the federal government spent to build a gas station in Afghanistan. This is the Daily Wrap, live from New York City.
8,000 times.
And welcome to the show, everybody. I'm Joe Concha. My co-host Rick Unger, south of the border on vacation. What else is new? To my right, we are joined by Newsday columnist and radio and TV commentator Ellis Hennigan will be filling in for Mr. Unger tonight.
Good to see you. How are you? Nice to be with you, man.
Way too nice, too.
He's bigger than I am, though, isn't he?
Who, Rick?
He's like he's big, right?
HGH. Those are your three letters to remember.
Thank you.
And to Mr. Hennigan's right, he is a former Navy SEAL, president of the Citizens League. Carl Higbie is back once again. And finally, he is CEO of Change Up Media, LLC. Ben Weingarten will not leave. Good to see you again, Ben.
Can't get me out of here.
You're like the mafia. Every time they try to get out, they pull you back in.
Yep.
I totally screwed that up. Let's get right to the Daily Download.
Major parties do not nominate people like Carson and Trump. These guys are so incompetent whenever the actual subject is running the country. They just disappear from the debates. And I just have to feel, I have no evidence for this. And I've said this for 6 months now, that they're about to collapse.
Not that we're keeping track. Not that we're keeping track.
The emerald path will get to Oz, the curtain will come down, and Marco Rubio will emerge triumphant.
That was political genius David Brooks of the New York Times. Unfortunately, Mr. Brooks has gotten this election cycle completely and absolutely wrong so far to date. Like the most of us, actually. And in the first national poll released since the GOP CNBC debate, too many acronyms there, the two incompetents, Donald Trump and Ben Carson, each have 26% support. If you do the math between the two of them, that'd be a majority, or 52% for those keeping score at home. Senator Ted Cruz also seeing a big bump of 5 points to the magic double digits of 10%. Marco Rubio, who some felt won that debate last week, is at 9%. Jeb Bush only at 5%, despite all that money and organization. And Carly Fiorina, who saw a huge bump after the second GOP debate, now sitting at 4% and sinking. Okay, as far as who won the debate in the Newsmax poll, let's take a look. Whoa, Trump won. Wow, what a shock there. 50% there, wins the Newsmax debate for the third consecutive time. Ted Cruz, many felt, won that debate as well. 21%, Ben Carson 13%, Marco Rubio 11%, and then everybody else not at 0.0%, but might as well be. And in the NBC Survey Monkey poll, that's a different kind of poll that kind of tracks only Republican voters. Who won the debate? Cruz, 24%, Trump, 17%. Fiorina coming in third at 7%. Did not see that coming. Actually, not third. Sorry, the way this is structured. You see Rubio coming in second and Trump third, Carson fourth. So let's start with someone who may be on the fence about Mr. Trump, Carl Higbie. Okay.
I know it's
You're
tough.
a huge supporter.
Huge supporter. Huge supporter. That Donald will be our next president. I've been saying that since day one. Rick's been hitting me when he was started at 3%. So far, so good.
Really, Ellis, you
guy-
obviously agree
I
with
was
that.
going to say, I'll hit you in Rick's stead. I mean, no, he will not be the next president. He may be the nominee, actually. I mean, I don't think that's impossible because, listen, this is not a year where knowing anything, having any consistent views, actually being familiar with the issues, none of that stuff matters anymore, right? You do have to feel for David Brooks, right? Smart guy,
Sure.
trying to analyze this under conventional bases, finding that none of the analysis makes sense. But yeah, all that stuff of like actually knowing something doesn't really matter this year.
The greatest thing about Barack Obama being president is he has literally left the bar on the floor. Anybody can step over that bar at this point. And to that effect, you are going to have people like Donald Trump, who came out of nowhere as far as from a political career, and now he's risen to the top because you cannot compete with conservatism and pop culture combined. That's why he'll win.
And you think he's conservative?
Yeah, I do.
All those positions he had, were they conservative?
I think where he's gotten now in the
doesn't matter,
in
does
the
it?
political realm,
Doesn't
he
matter.
is now a conservative.
I would love to ask Ben Weingarten that question.
Yeah.
In the eyes of a true conservative like yourself, is Donald Trump a true conservative?
Absolutely not a true conservative.
Thank you.
He's a populist, and he knows.
What's the difference in your mind?
So the
Define
difference,
two.
the difference in my mind is that you can be a populist and a conservative, but in the case of a Trump, when Trump is, for example, anti-free trade, you can't be anti-free trade and call yourself a conservative. You have to believe in free market principles. Doesn't mean that you believe that you should have no borders whatsoever, but it does mean that you should do what's best for your economy, and free trade is essential to that. That's one issue among a litany of issues where Trump is questionable, I would say.
Fair enough. And his terms have evolved greatly over the time that he's become in the race, because this is his first time with politics. Look, that's the liberal left word that you guys use for everything. Anytime a policy changes, it's evolve.
Give Barack Obama credit. He created the evolve move, and everybody uses it now. I've evolved on gay marriage. I've evolved on immigration.
Let me suggest something slightly different. Yes. Maybe it isn't that he believes one thing and they believe another thing. Maybe he doesn't believe anything. I mean, there is no evidence in the history of Donald Trump, and I speak as someone who's covered him.
Maybe he's going to do what's best for the American people.
Who has covered him for almost 3 decades now. I don't think the guy believes in anything other than succeeding, and that's something. But
make America great
politics.
He's been, if you look back at his books and all the things that he had written in the interviews, he's been somewhat consistent on several issues. But the one thing I'd say is, and why he's doing so well, in my opinion, and why people like David Brooks could never have seen it coming, is that the anti-establishment sentiment is so strong among conservatives right now. All of us, I'm speaking personally here, and the rest of the conservatives as well, feel completely betrayed by everyone in Washington, and that includes quote-unquote so-called conservatives, and that's what he is tapping into right now.
Look at the numbers, right? I mean, Ted Cruz is a senator, I get that, but he portrays himself, he always calls it the D.C. cartel, right?
Yep.
Oh, and so if you put his numbers with Trump and Carson, 62%. Over 6 and 10, like the 3 guys that say, I am not part of that scene whatsoever.
If you're a Republican politician and you've spent the last 25 years telling your voters they can't trust Washington, don't be surprised if at some point those people don't want to support Republican politics.
As a Democrat, who would you like to face the most? Who would give your candidate, who I imagine is Hillary Clinton, the best chance to win?
Here's the thing, as a Democrat, I have a rare boost of confidence this year.
You do.
I say, bring them on.
Bring him on.
Bring them on.
No candidate scares you.
Take your pick.
Marco Rubio does not scare you, for instance.
Take your pick. It's not a Republican year.
It's not a Republican year.
Well, what happens, though, when Hillary Clinton's in a debate and she gets flustered and angry? Because I think a lot of the people on the Republican side are articulate and they'll know how to push her buttons. That won't be a good look for her, and that'll stick with the American people.
She has plenty of weaknesses as a candidate. I mean, first of all, she lacks charm, which her husband has.
That's an understatement.
No, it's true. It's true. She's not the perfect candidate, but she's got advantages that are going to elect her.
I will say, and soak this up, you'll never hear me say this again, but I thought she did very well at those hearings as far as composure.
Yeah, I'm good in the debate, too, right? Pretty well.
Well, here's the thing about that debate. It was against 3 sea turtles and a socialist.
Yeah.
All right. Any one of us would have looked good against that competition.
I don't know.
2 have dropped out since.
They definitely had fewer candidates, I'll give you that.
They had fewer, now they only have 3 for the next debate that's coming up, I believe, on November 4th.
And that Lessig guy left today, I noticed.
Oh, did Lessig do it as well?
Yes, he said he couldn't do it.
Wow, it wasn't trending for some reason. Go figure. Go ahead,
But
Ben.
we'll see under the pressure of this election how she comes out looking. And I'm not talking just physically looking, but in general, if she's on the stage against a 40-something who's bright and articulate and compelling, just the visceral reaction of the voters, I think, is going to be potentially overwhelmingly against her.
And
we'll see.
Also, Trump has massive experience in pop culture. I mean, he has humor behind him. He can make the crowd laugh, captivate attention. When he debates Hillary Clinton, he is going to steamroll her.
Well, I wonder, we talk about bias in the media a lot and being on the side of a certain candidate. John Harwood, obviously a Hillary Clinton supporter. Maybe you shouldn't have been a moderator. We'll talk about that in the next block. But in your case, I have to call out that you may be a little biased today, particularly, because Mr. Trump actually tweeted out and called you out by name. Do we have the tweet?
Oh, man.
Look at that. Thank you, Carl Higbee, former Navy SEAL, for your support of my plan to straighten out the VA. A mess. Great job at Kilmeade. So obviously that was on Fox and Friends this morning.
It was.
Right. Has the paparazzo been following you since?
Thank you, Mr. Trump. I've gotten a little bit of support here and there, but it's not about that. It's about getting him in office.
Right. What did you say exactly that got his attention?
I had a limited amount of time on Fox this morning, but I did say that, hey, look, the only thing that Trump wants to do, first and foremost, is fire people who are incompetent and fire people who are not doing their job. If you create a culture of accountability and hold their supervisors accountable, you will fix the system.
Okay, and he noticed and tweeted that out, and then obviously your Twitter blew up as well, right?
Yeah, I appreciate it very much. So
you know who followed me over the weekend?
Who?
Siri. The voice of Siri. That was one of the people that followed me. I said, who is this random person? I look at the bio real quick. You know me as the voice of Siri. So you had Trump. I got Siri. All right.
She knows more.
Right, exactly. Anyway, let's go to the prompter. Coming up next, is the RNC really in charge of the upcoming debates? This is the Daily Wrap, only on Newsmax TV.